Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Margaret this week. We are doing this once again with my friend Stephanie Huey, who is the master of all things related to digital media. We're glad that you joined us because tonight we're going to be talking about parenting plans. So Stephanie.
Yes, well, it's perfect because last week we talked about high conflict cases. And, you introduced the world to what that is and just kind of what you do in the courtroom. And we had our special guest, Ms. Donna Wilburn, talking about that. But one of the things that you had mentioned was that when you do have those high conflict cases, sometimes parenting plans come up. So
any custody case.
Any custody, right? Yeah. Before we get into that, though, because we had Ms. Wilburn on last week, I didn't get to really ask you how your Mother's Day was. So
great.
Yeah.
Great Mother's Day. My daughter learned how to make the famous Pickard pancakes with Keith coaching her, and my son-in-law was in the kitchen and they were all cooking for me, and they put up wonderful signs. We have a tradition in our house where if it's somebody's birthday or Mother's Day or Father's Day, we put up signs just to remind them how great they are and what a great day. When our kids turned 16, my husband posted hide the car keys, and so that was our famous ones, but we have them all over the house, and any time of the year you come in, you'll see them somewhere from whatever last event was that we celebrated. So how was your Mother's Day?
It was okay. I mean, we actually just spent the time driving around and dropping off gifts at our parents' house. So it's not my kids' grandparents. So I felt like I didn't really do much for me for Mother's Day, but the kids are at that age where they haven't really figured out that it's Mother's Day like that. It's Grandparents' Day to them right now, you know?
You need a spa day. Tell Alan to get you a spa day.
I'm okay with them giving me just time to myself on Mother's Day. They don't have to do anything for me at all.
Right, just a little break.
So nobody made Oreo cookies for you like you do for everyone
else? I don't
eat
Oreos. It's so funny. I just don't eat them. So it's funny. I just love to decorate them, but I don't eat them. I give them away. And when I have mess ups, I put them in the cupboard, and everybody knows those are free for all ones. So no, but we did, we did some really fun things, and we had ice cream and just some we play games. I'm a game player. We played up the river, down the river, Las Vegas golf. We play a lot of games. So we're a game playing family. So we had a really great time. It was fun.
I was just telling somebody about the mousetrap game, if you've ever seen that.
Oh, yes.
And it's so fun. But so when when I think about our topic today, I thought about like us as parents, and when you had brought up, parenting plans last week, just what that looks like. I feel like even if we weren't in the legal system at all, or in, a court case, whether it's high conflict, custody, divorce case or whatnot, I feel like I myself should have a parenting plan, just because of all that goes on. But
that's an interesting question. That's an interesting point, because Keith and I talked about one week about the importance of expectations and how the number one cause of divorce is failure to meet the party's expectations. So sometimes write down what your expectations are about cooking, cleaning, just life, laundry, really help marriages, FYI.
So maybe everybody should do a type of parenting plan, or even just a family plan of some sort. Mm-hmm. But okay, so tell me about today's topic of parenting plans, though. What is this parenting plan that we're talking about today?
So we are talking today about parenting plans when parents are separating or divorcing, and they're going to share their kids between their homes. So a parenting plan is set up whenever parents are going to share the kids. It sets up a schedule, like what we call a timeshare, when the kids will spend time with mom, or when kids will spend time with dad, or mom and mom. So it's very important that we make sure that we have those clearly defined, because even when parents get along at the beginning, it sometimes doesn't continue to be as blissful after one parent gets a new partner. So really important to write those things down. So for example, a timeshare could be they share older kids week on, week off, or you could have a 2-2-5, sometimes we call it 2-2-3, but where one parent has Monday, Tuesday every week, then the other parent has Wednesday, Thursday, and then they alternate the weekends. It really depends on the parent's work schedule, because especially in Las Vegas, we live in a 24-hour town, and a lot of parents work evenings, nights, or they work weekends. And so we try to focus it so that the kids spend as much time as possible with both parents.
So when does this normally occur? Like, when would you suggest that a parenting plan be completed?
Well, I think a parenting plan needs to be completed as soon as parents separate and go into two different households. Because if you're in the same, or even if you're in the same household, an amazing number of couples who are getting separated or divorced often reside in the same household because they can't afford two households. So even in those cases, it's good to know when each parent has parenting time and when they can spend time with the kids. So for example, you could say I have Monday, Wednesday evenings, you have Tuesday, Thursday evenings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend sharing on a daily basis because it's just too hard for kids to move. But if you're in the same house, you might be able to do that. But most people eventually move into their own houses. Not all of them, you'd be surprised, but most people will eventually move into their separate houses. And then I do, I always say, make sure you have a parenting plan, whatever that looks like, because a number of parents will find themselves being the only parent because one parent's really abdicating their parental responsibilities, or they'll fight over every last bit of time. So it's really good to put it in writing and try to figure out what's as fair as possible in their eyes.
Yeah, I'm making a mental note to do a parenting plan tonight with Alan. So definitely doing that. So, okay, what's the difference between legal custody and physical custody?
So that's a good question. So legal custody is decision making. So things like going to the doctors, things like which school to enroll the child in, decision making questions or issues. Physical custody is where the children will spend their time, physically where they will be.
Okay.
So people confuse those terms a lot, but they're very different.
I see. So then what is joint physical custody then? What does that look like?
Joint physical custody can be defined as there's a presumption in Nevada that parents should share the timeshare as equally as possible. It doesn't mean 50-50 though. It could mean 60-40. Bluestein blurs the line there, but we're trying to get as close as possible to the children spending as much time as possible with both parents. But some parents really just want a couple of weekends a month. Some parents want to have exactly the same number of hours, exactly equal time. So it just depends.
Whenever you say timeshare, I think about a vacation home. So.
I know, right? It seems like that. But no, really what we have to do is we have to write the timeshares down. We have to write when the kids are going to be sharing, at mom's house or at dad's house or at mom's house. So one of the things that I find is a huge problem in these parenting plans is people think they'll work it out. So they'll say, you get the kids on Friday to Monday. What does that mean? Friday, what time? Is one parent going to pick the kids up from school and then they're going to return the kids on Monday morning to school? Or is it going to be at one parent's house at 5 o'clock? I always recommend that one parent picks the kids up from school, one parent drops them off, because it's just an easier transition for the kids.
Right. And I'm sure that's confusing for the kids, and the parents have to put this all together.
Right.
So I assume that's what does a typical timeshare look like? I mean, like you give us all these examples. What do you typically see in a timeshare for a parenting plan?
Well, that's really variable. So especially if the kids are older, a lot of parents like week on, week off. So kids have more consistency and get into the routine during the week at each parent's house. It's not uncommon we have some parents that like to have Monday, Tuesday, the other parent would have Wednesday, Thursday, and then they alternate the weekends. So they get alternating weekends. That's a 2-2-5. Some people call it a 2-2-3, but it's really 2 days for one parent, 2 days for the other. And then there's a span of 5 days because it's the 3 days on the weekend. Plus you add your 2 days, either the Monday, Tuesday, or the next week, Wednesday, Thursday. So we try to set it up based on what the parents' desires are and what their needs are, what their work schedules are. If you have somebody that works out of town, it's a much different schedule. Maybe you're going to do more time in the summer when that person can get time off, or maybe you'll do more time at the holiday periods. And I shared custody across state lines. And so my co-parent got all of the spring breaks. He got every spring break. I got once in a blue moon, and we alternated the holidays, and he got more time in the summer to equalize it. So there's a lot of real creative ways to do it, but write it down. That's what I tell people, write it down. And the holiday schedules especially are important. And we talked a little bit about that last week.
So right now, with everything going on with the pandemic and COVID-19, do you feel like there are differences in how you're doing a parenting plan now than how you did it before?
Well, so I don't do parenting plans right now in my practice because I am working for the court and I work in child abuse and neglect. But many attorneys right now are having to put addendums to the parenting plans to identify when parents exchange time. So for example, you might do a regular timeshare. The kids should be still going back and forth between homes. If you have a medically fragile child, maybe the parents agree they're not going to go back and forth right now, but the parent who doesn't get the time that they are entitled to will get more time in the summer. Parents should try to the extent they can agree to these things, but if they can't, they need to follow their parenting plan that's written and signed by the court.
I'm sure it's so difficult right now with the traveling, especially the ones that are across state lines. And, like when they come back, I mean, there's this whole quarantine period, that they have to do. So I'm sure it's more difficult now. So what about teenage discretion? I mean, I'm sure that there are differences with age groups and parenting plan. What about teenagers? Like, what is your
Teenagers
experience
are
with that?
rough. I can say that. Teenagers are hard. One of the things that becomes a real question for a lot of parents is, should I put a provision in there that allows my teenager to decide when they're going to go to either parent's house? And I say no. There are times where you can say once a month, the teenager can decide whether or not to go to mom's house, dad's house, mom's house. Once a month they can choose, because maybe they have a big event like they have homecoming and they don't want to leave that environment for the weekend. But generally speaking, I'd say don't do teenage discretion, because teenagers don't always make the best judgment for themselves. Say that dad is cleaning the garage out for the weekend and mom says, let's go to Disneyland. Of course,
Right.
Disneyland, right? So kids don't make the best decisions. And also we see a lot of kids resisting time with a parent when they have a parent who's alienating. And so with teenage discretion, a parent will often, when there's alienation or custodial interference, they'll often say, well, I don't have to go to mom's house, or I don't have to go to dad's house. And then the parent who's enabling the bad behavior will say, you're right, you're a teenager, it's your choice. No, kids have to go to school. They have to go to the other parent's house. They have to go to the doctor. There's certain things as a parent, and a responsible parent is going to ensure their children do for their best interests.
There's so many little details that I didn't think about when you first brought up parenting plan as a topic. I thought, okay, here's a plan. Everybody's going to agree on it. There's just so many tiny little details, like down to the holidays and the times and the pickup time and the pickup, date and everything like that. I mean, what about transportation? Like, do you even put in a parenting plan? Like, who's doing the transportation? Who's shopping? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have a transportation line. I have a sample default holiday and vacation schedule that I did when I was at UNLV. And I still use it to this day because we worked it out with people of all faith. I had a big group that was helping to put this parenting plan together, so it would be the ideal plan. And transportation, we always ask the receiving parent, the parent who's picking up, to provide the transportation for the kids. Because otherwise, if a parent's dropping the kids off, sometimes they're late and they can't get all their things together. It's just easier if you go to the other parent's house, wait in front if you can't get along with the other parent, and hopefully the kids will quickly come out and bring all their things, whatever they might have. And kids shouldn't be carrying a big suitcase back and forth. They should have kids at both parents' houses.
Right. I mean, that's very detailed. Is there anything like else in a parenting plan that maybe we're missing right now, other than the schedules and the transportation?
The holiday schedule. Huge part. So I have a default sample holiday and vacation schedule, and it's available on the Nevada Family Law Group's website. But basically it lays out how to share time. So it lays out what holidays. So I have, for example, Martin Luther King, President's Day, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, Labor Day weekend, Nevada Admission Day. People don't think about that. Halloween. Some parents want to share Halloween. Veterans Day weekend, and then it goes through the traditional holidays. The other thing that it does that I've done is the winter break is split up, Easter and spring break are split up, and the holidays are split up. So I want to show you. So this is on so you can see, like at the beginning, you'll see there's what we call an overlap precedence, because sometimes vacation periods will overlap holiday periods. So holiday schedules shall take precedence over vacation. So if it's summer, even though it's mom's summer vacation time, dad's holidays can take precedence. So you have to make sure you schedule within those time periods. Then you can, as you go down the list, that we share every other holiday, and those are listed in order from January down to Veterans Day. So those are listed in order. And then the holidays themselves are on the next page. If you scroll down, you can see birthdays. Mom gets the kids every birthday, and they alternate the kids' birthdays based on odd, even year. And spring break, Thanksgiving is split up. And so you can see a very specific under Thanksgiving, for example. It says the parents will share the Thanksgiving break based on the following schedule, with the holiday period to begin upon the release of school before Thanksgiving and shall continue until school resumes following the holiday or at the time of the first morning bell.
Wow, that's very specific.
Very specific, because once you get into conflicts, this will help resolve a lot of conflicts. People will understand it. Winter break, I separated it from December 28th at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, because too many parents try to share Christmas Day. And then you've got a child who, let's say mom and dad are at war, And now the child's just opened all these fun presents in the morning at dad's house, and mom's like, let's go, we gotta go in the middle of the day, leave all your toys. That's hard on kids. So I say, share those holidays. We had first Christmas and second Christmas, we called it. And so we celebrated it twice and during the year. So there's a lot of ways to be creative about it and be okay with it. So if you go down, you can see that we also covered all religious holidays. So I have sample plan for Jewish holidays. I have a sample plan for the Baha'i faith. So, and keep going, we have some other ones too. We have, for if you are on summer track vacation schedules, if you're on year-round school, I've accommodated those as well. This is a really well thought out plan, and I had a rabbi who helped me with it as well, and a friend who's of the Baha'i faith. So we really worked hard to make sure we were extremely inclusive. We have Kwanzaa. So it's important that you understand that it's going to be tailored to your needs. I did have a friend that, said that he felt like his partner really discovered all of the holidays that her religion had once they separated, because she realized she could get more time with the kids. And so you have to be aware that, we have to be respectful of each other's times, but each parent can decide how to bring their children up and what religious faiths to share with those children. You really shouldn't force one parent to practice a certain religion or the children. You can't do that. Everybody has a constitutional right to practice their own religion, and each parent can share their values. They shouldn't bash the other parent's values, I will say that. But so yeah, you can see in-service professional development days, which we don't always anticipate how they're shared. Everything is laid out there. And this is a plan that I put together many years ago. We've tweaked it here and there, but it's really important to have this kind of detail, and it's freely available to whoever wants it. I know some of the departments still use it to this day, and some of them use a variation of it. But we really have to spell these things out for the parents. And it's hard. Like, listen, the hardest things, the most emotional issues you'll deal with are your children, your marriage, and your money. And that's what we're doing at Family Court. So we do have to spell these things out, and we have to understand that we are going to be very specific so that you can enjoy your timeshare with your child when you have your child. I am not a proponent of daily phone calls when the other parent has the child. Generally speaking, I say if it's a week long, once or twice a week, catch up with your kids on the phone for a few minutes. But what I've seen is far too many parents who call the child. What did you have for dinner? Oh, that's what time are you getting up? And they micromanage at the other parent's house, and that's not healthy for the child. The child learn at a very young age that they can make some decisions about what to wear, and they should follow the rules at mom's house, follow the rules at dad's house, or dad. You got to make sure they follow the rules in the house they're living. Otherwise, we just undermine the children's ability and respect for authority.
That's amazing. Like, you are so detailed with this. I don't think I would have thought about any of that. And I have kids that, have a plan.
After you do it 100 times in cases, you start realizing all the little nuances. And I can tell you, I've seen so many, especially when I worked in high conflict custody, I saw so many parents trying to get under the little nuances of a parenting plan. And so it's really important that you are very specific and you spell everything.
Mm-hmm. I think we're having some technical difficulties here. Are you there? See if we can get her back on here. Wait a few minutes. Definitely not as versed in parenting plans as Margaret is, so let's give her a few seconds to come back on here. I think we just lost her. So, well, hopefully she comes back on, but I think what we were also going to say was that next week we do have a surprise guest that will come on for Tuesday Talks. And well, I think we kind of lost her, so that's a surprise for us today too. But definitely tune in next week for Tuesday Talks with Margaret, and we'll have a special guest on to talk about a special topic next week. And like I always say at the end of every Tuesday Talks, obviously we're on Facebook, but you can also find her on Instagram and Twitter at Pickard4Judge. That's Pickard with the number 4 and then Judge. But I guess that's me saying goodbye to everybody. And then I guess we'll see you next week for Tuesday Talks then.